This video is part 2 of the Automata box assembly. So let's get started. As you can see, here is our box, but we need to get some holes in this piece. And because we use the same piece on the bottom and the top, we call them both bottom. You can see them over here in the browser. There's my first piece, which is the true bottom. And then I use the same piece up here in the top. We're going to do a little fixing with this. So what we're going to do is on that second bottom piece, which highlights the top, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go hit Save As and Replace. Now I'm going to give it a new name, and I'm going to call it top, but for me, I'm going to actually give it a 1-1 so I know where it is. I'm going to call it top, and we'll hit save. And you can see in my browser, it renamed it. So now I have a whole separate piece here, and you can see over here on the left side where it actually has created that new part. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up that new piece that I saved. What we're going to do is we're going to put a couple holes in the top of this. So I want to put a new sketch on this top face. We'll bring it down. I'm going to make a line. I'm going to make just a construction line. So I'm going to go over here and pick construction line. I'm going to grab the midpoint of this edge and drag it over to the midpoint of that edge. I want to get out of my construction mode. I'm going to put 2 circles on this. So I'm going to make a circle. I'm going to go right to that construction line. Doesn't matter where yet. And this is going to be 0.5. I'm going to make another circle on that construction line. Again, that's going to be 0.5 for the diameter. And now I want to even space these parts. So I know this piece up here is 5 inches, and I have 3 spaces. So I'm going to dimension this using a little parametric equation from the center of that circle to this edge. I'm going to type in 5 divided by 3. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to grab that edge and grab that center circle. And what I can do is I can just click that dimension right there and put it in. Now my circles are evenly spaced. I'm going to finish my sketch. We'll get my isometric view so you can see everything. I'm going to go to extrude. I'm going to grab my 2 circles, and I'm just going to cut them right down through. It doesn't really matter, but if you really want to know, they're going to be 0.25. So we can actually type that in. So this will be minus 0.25. And there we go. I'm going to make sure I hit save. And once it saves, I can X out of that part. Now I have my piece here, but I don't see the holes. Well, what I have to do is up here is this little yellow triangle, and it says updated 1 component. So all I have to do is click on that, and you'll see there's my 2 holes. So now we can get going on assembling a couple more parts in our Automata box. So the first one I'm going to bring in is I'm going to bring in a roller, or excuse me, a follower guide. I'm going to grab my follower guide, drop it in, and I'm going to spin this around so I can see the bottom of it. And I'm going to raise it up higher and bring it a little bit closer to where my holes are. There we go. I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm grabbing. So I'm going to go to assembly, joint. I want to definitely check to make sure that I'm at rigid. So I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this edge right here. And again, like we did before with the axle bushings, I'm going to hit the control key and it grabs right in the center. I'm going to do the same thing on this top piece. Hit the control key, grab the center of that, and it's going to put it right in. And actually, it's going to line it up correctly for me. We're going to do that again. I'm going to bring in another follower guide. Drop that in. I'm going to spin this around a little bit. And we'll raise it up. And we'll bring it a little bit closer to that hole right there. And we can zoom in so you can see what's going on. Again, assembly, joint. I'm going to grab that edge, hit the control key so I can grab the middle. Same thing here, grab the middle, and hit OK. The next thing I want to bring in is my followers. So I have 2 of them. I'm going to bring them in one at a time. There's one, and we're going to move it around a little bit so we can get them closer. There we go. Now I'm going to change my joint, because we want this to move up and down only. So I'm going to go to joint, go to motion, and this time I'm going to pick slider. And what I'm going to do is slider. I'm going to grab the top center of that piece. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make sure I grab the top center. So I'm going to go to this face right here, hit the control key, and make sure I can grab that center piece. You'll see that it popped it in. It doesn't matter whether you flip it or not. We'll hit OK, and you'll be able to see that this piece can now slide up and down. We're going to repeat that with the other one. Grab another follower, bring it in, and we'll move it around a little bit so we can get a little closer to our hole. There we go. We'll zoom in a little bit. I'm going to repeat my steps. I'm still in the slider for my joint. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to grab the top center of my follower. Zoom in a little bit. I want this flat edge right here. Hit the control key. Jump to the middle. And we'll hit OK. And see that it can go up and down. So I'm going to pull them both down a little bit. Now I'm going to bring in my roller. And that's going to go on the end of these followers. So I'm going to bring my little roller in. And I want to turn this roller. I want it to flip it this way a little bit. And then I definitely want to turn it in this direction. It's going to make it a little bit easier when you put it together. And I'll bring it a little closer to my box. Now, to help me put that on there, where I have to put that is I have to put it on in the bottom of those followers. It could be a little tough. So to make my life a little easier, I'm going to come over here to the bottom. I'm just going to turn that off. I'm actually going to turn off the two sides. I can leave the top on there. I can turn the back off, like my axle bushings, and definitely my axle. So I can kind of clear that space out a little bit so I can see what's kind of going on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in real close to this roller, and I need to look on the inside of this. So we're going to go to Assemble, Joint. I have to change it back. I got to get back to Rigid. So I'm going to select Rigid. I'm going to bring my cursor down into the bottom, inside bottom there. I'm going to hit Control, and then I'm going to jump to the center. Okay, and then I'm going to zoom back out. What I'm going to have to do is roll this over. And I come up here to my follower. I'm going to grab the center point there. Now, I want to make sure these are going in this direction. So that looks good. I'm going to bring in another roller. I'm going to get back to my home position so I know which way to rotate it. So I'm going to rotate it down flat that way. And I'm going to spin it around so it's aiming in this direction. And we'll bring it a little bit closer. We'll hit OK. I'm going to zoom on the inside of this roller again. Assemble, Joint. This bottom edge, I'm going to hit my Control key, slide to my center point. I'll zoom out a little bit. I'll rotate this around so I can see the bottom of the follower. There it is. And now I want to grab the center point of that follower. Sticks it on. There we go. Looks good. And everything looks good. They're both going the same direction. Everything's moving up and down, correct? So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to turn everything back on. And that is part 2 of the assembly of the Automata box. Hope you enjoyed the video.